Last week, a man stood in a parking lot and counted how many people looked at his $770 a month car. The answer was 0. 3 years ago, that car was the newest one in the row. Now he parks between two newer SUVs and he hates that he notices. He is paying to look like someone who has money. And the car is the cheapest part of it. His name is Ryan. He is 38. Software project manager, $115,000 a year. Married, 1 kid, average American city. After taxes, he takes home about $7,500 a month. Mortgage, insurance, groceries, utilities, childcare, the stuff he cannot negotiate, eats $4,800 before he touches anything he actually chooses to spend. That leaves about $2,600 a month. He just knows that every raise in the last 5 years was gone within 3 months. He stopped asking why. Here is where the bill starts. The one he has never seen. His car. Monday morning, 7:40, he backs out of the driveway. The average new car payment in America just hit an all-time high, $770 a month for 69 months. The auto industry does not sell you a car. It sells you a monthly payment. Stretch the loan to 69 months and any price looks normal. Ryan is one of them, not because he wanted a luxury car. He wanted a normal SUV that felt right on the lot. A 3-year-old version of that same car sits on a used lot 10 minutes away after someone else already ate the depreciation. That one cost $430 a month. Ryan is paying $340 more every month to be the person who drives it off the lot first. He did the math in the dealership. $340. He remembers thinking it was basically a dinner out. That is exactly what it felt like. And that car loses over $10 in value every single day. Even on Saturdays when it sits in the garage and they take his wife's car to the park. A parking meter that charges him to go nowhere. But the car is not where Ryan loses the most. His house. They moved in 3 years ago. 4 bedrooms, they use 3. The 4th is the guest room that gets visitors maybe 4 times a year. The rest of the time, it holds 2 suitcases and a rowing machine that has become an expensive coat rack. In many markets, a 4th bedroom adds about $30,000 to the price. Financed, taxed, heated, and maintained, that room runs $280 a month. Not the whole house, just the room. For a space that exists because the realtor said they might need it someday. And the house is not the biggest problem either. The biggest one does not look like spending at all. The biggest one is the stuff that never feels like spending at all. Friday night. The group text goes out and Ryan is at the restaurant again, wearing a shirt with a label on it that nobody at that table has ever mentioned, showing somebody a photo from a vacation that had to be worth photographing. 3 purchases in one evening. None of them felt like a decision. Together, they run him $440 a month, forever. And not one of them was ever about him. None of this is reckless. Ryan is not careless. Last Tuesday at midnight, he typed, "Is leasing worth it?" into his phone, read 2 paragraphs, and closed the tab. He is tired of being the guy at the office with the oldest car. Not one of these is a bad decision on the day you make it. The test is simpler than that. Would Ryan still buy it if nobody could ever see it? If the answer is yes, it is not on this list. But line them up, and Ryan is paying $1,060 every month for the things where the answer was no. Every industry on that list, the dealership, the lender, the realtor, the brand, has built a business model around the gap between what Ryan needs and what Ryan needs to be seen with. They do not need him to be reckless. They just need him to feel normal. And that is where the real damage starts. Because $1,060 a month does not just disappear. It compounds in the opposite direction. And Ryan still saves. 11% of his take-home, $846 a month, goes into an index fund. He is doing the responsible thing. He is on track. On track to work for another 35 years. Nothing about Ryan changes. Not the job, not the salary, not the family. Only where the money goes. He buys the 3-year-old car for $430 instead of $770. Skips the extra bedroom. Eats out once a week instead of twice. The closet works fine without the labels. The vacation does not need to perform for anyone. His discretionary spending drops from $1,900 to $840 a month. He now saves $1,906 a month, 25% of his take-home instead of 11. And instead of working until he is 73, he could stop at 62. 11 years of his life separated entirely by things he chose not to buy. That difference compounds. $1,060 a month, the gap between the two versions of Ryan, invested at 8%, becomes $628,000 in 20 years. $1.6 million in 30. One version of Ryan stops working in his early 60s with 7 figures. The other, at the same age, has less than half, and over a decade of work still ahead of him. Same parking lot, same guy, every morning. On a Tuesday morning, 11 years from now, one version of Ryan is getting dressed for work. Same commute, same chair, same coffee from the machine in the break room. The other version woke up without an alarm. He is reading, in a kitchen he owns, in a house that is paid off, deciding what to do with a day that belongs to him. Not because he earned more, because 11 years ago, he stopped paying for things nobody noticed. But that raises a question the math cannot answer. Everything Ryan spent that $1,060 on was designed to be seen. The car, the extra bedroom, the restaurant, the brand, the trip, all of it projected something to the people around him. So before we close the book on that money, were those people actually looking? In 2000, a team of psychologists at Cornell ran an experiment. They asked students to wear a shirt featuring a well-known face into a room of peers, then estimate how many people noticed it. The students guessed about half. The actual number was roughly a quarter. The researchers called it the spotlight effect. You walk around feeling like a spotlight follows you everywhere. It does not. Most people barely register what you are wearing, driving, or carrying. Ryan is spending $1,060 a month to perform for an audience that is barely in the room. The people who built real wealth figured this out decades ago. Thomas Stanley spent his career studying American millionaires, the ones on your street you would never guess. In his later research, the most common car brand among them was Toyota. They put a few % of their net worth into their vehicle. The typical buyer puts closer to a third. Same parking lot. The people who actually have money are almost never the ones who look like they do. To be fair, looking put together does pay. Researchers have measured a real earnings penalty for people who show up looking like they do not care. But the return comes from grooming and fit, not price tags. A $40 shirt that fits beats a $400 shirt that does not. There is no evidence that a badge on a steering wheel has ever produced a raise. Everything past that is the invisible bill. And none of this applies if you are struggling to make rent. That is an income problem. This is for people who earn enough and still end up with nothing saved except all the things they bought to show they had made it. The number that decides when you stop working is not your salary. It is the gap between what you earn and what you need to be seen earning. Ryan filled that gap with $1,060 a month for a version of himself that existed on his street but never in his account. One raise, moved from the parking lot to an index fund, and 11 years come back. The auto industry sold him a payment. His neighborhood sold him a bedroom. His phone sold him a restaurant. His problem was never his income. It was a bill that showed up every month without a number on it, for an audience that showed up without ever actually being there. Consumption and compounding are the same dollars facing opposite directions. Every month, Ryan picks which way they point. And the people he is performing for are at home at 11 at night, moving money between their own accounts, hoping nobody notices. That's the Ben factor.